parade. Day 2 in a row being over 90 degrees. Two and a half weeks ago. Almost 3 weeks ago. Yeah. Welcome to Vermont. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Today is Wednesday. Yeah. May 27th, 2020. My name is Jeremy, and this is my first cup of coffee. Good stuff. Well, let's see. Car's going into the dealer today. I had a nice long conversation with someone from the state that works in the department that deals with the lemon law, just to say, I don't know how to proceed with some of these questions on your forms. And they answered them, and it was great. Stacy says, time for iced coffee. It could be, but that would require planning ahead the night before and doing like some cold brew or something. I could do that. Maybe I'll do that. But at some point, I have to sit down and dig through what will be, I think, 80 pages of paperwork, 100 pages of paperwork I have to send off. It's going to take a lot of time to deal with this, which is really unfortunate because I have to spend the time dealing with this despite it not being my fault. I didn't make the car. I didn't screw up the car. The car sucks. So. But based on the paperwork, I should be getting back almost every nickel I put in. So that's good. 95+%. So that's going to be on the schedule for tomorrow. What else is happening today? I got a client coaching some CrossFit this evening if anybody shows up. Ugh. It's so hot. It's supposed to be 93, 94 degrees today. In May. I don't like it. I'm not ready. I'm ready for honestly, on the days when it's 70 degrees and I go outside, I feel warm. No. Let's see. What else happened? Honestly, I got finished up with that call yesterday and I was pretty fried. It was about 3:30, so I quit early. I did some projects around the house. Nothing too big. What did we do whistlekick-wise? Some stuff around books. Oh, I recorded an episode. Recorded an episode with a gentleman named... no, that's right. I don't tell you on this show. Ha! The only place that we tell about upcoming guests is in the Patreon. So if you want to contribute to the Patreon, any amount, you'll get to see who's coming up. What else happening today? I'm going to try and go for a walk before it becomes ungodly hot, because I was just too miserable last night to go for a walk, and it was like 85 when I went to bed, so I don't want to walk in 85. Other than that, just lots of little stuff, email, just the stuff that we do to keep everything running. That's it. Should we turn to questions? I think it's questions time. Questions and comments. If you have questions or if you have comments, put them in the comment section below. I'll answer them tomorrow or respond tomorrow, whatever is most appropriate. There's a cat sleeping there. Birds are making a racket outside. It's great. The birds were making a racket at like 4:30. Not a fan of that. It's a little too loud. So Frank's got a few questions here about motorcycle ownership. What's the best part about owning a motorcycle? I've had this bike for 15 years. So I'm thinking about how the answer to that question has changed. When I was in my 20s and I bought a motorcycle, I thought it would be my dating solution. I thought all I would have to say is, I have a motorcycle, and women would throw themselves at me. Obviously, that is not true, because that's not the way the world works. But I enjoyed early on how it made me a better driver. Your need to see what's going on is paramount to riding a motorcycle. It's much more important than driving a car. You've got gas and brake, and yeah, you've got steering, but steering abruptly, the physics on a motorcycle don't work that way. So really what you have is acceleration, because you're braking, yeah, you can brake, and you can even slow down faster than a car. But what you need is an ability to predict what's going to happen. And I found that I got really good at watching other drivers and figuring out what they were going to do. It really made a big difference. Now, and even for years, the best part has been the smell of fresh cut grass and just smells in general. When you're driving in a car, you rarely smell anything. But when you're on a motorcycle, you can smell everything. And so to be cruising down the road with the tunes, feeling like there's so little between you and the world, and smelling grass and wood mulch and even cow pastures, which is not a smell I hate, by the way. That smell reminds me of being a child. It's pretty awesome. They're scary. They require work. I did order the broken piece last night. I was able to track it down with the help of some kind people in a Facebook group, and found a used one for $50. So that's on the way, because nobody else had them in stock. Yeah. And I wasn't about to spend the rest of the summer not riding my motorcycle. I did that last year. But it's freeing. It's there. There's something freeing about it, and part of it is the element of danger, the realization that there is so little between you and the world. And while I always ride with a helmet, this is why plenty of people don't ride with a helmet. The less between you and the world, the freer you feel. It's the same reason people drive convertibles. It's pretty great. Now, the second question is, can we see it? And that would require some planning ahead, which I did not do. I don't know about bringing you guys out to the garage. It's a mess. Um, my garage, that garage, has all the stuff that I'm trying to get rid of that I was planning on having a yard sale this spring. But with the pandemic, yard sales aren't going to be really well attended, so I'm waiting, hoping for the fall. And that stuff is scattered in there, coupled with all the other stuff that you put in a garage that doesn't hold a car. So I'm going to say no on that one. But if anyone wants to look it up, it is a red 2006 Yamaha FZ6. Maybe I'll shoot a short video and show you or something. It's been a really good bike. And if it starts to have more problems, it only has 13,000 miles, despite this being the 15th summer. I don't ride much. I average about 1,000 miles a year. Uh, who knows? Maybe I get a different bike if it starts to be problematic. I think the motorcycle represents a part of me that I wish was a larger percentage of my time. You know, that carefree, I'm just going to get on the motorcycle. You don't go grocery shopping on a motorcycle. You don't do errands on a motorcycle. A motorcycle is, it's transportation. But for me, first and foremost, it's enjoyable. It's the best way to get from point A to B. It's not the most efficient. Gas efficient, but can't carry anything. I think there was one time I took the motorcycle to Taekwondo, and I had to load up a backpack, and it just wasn't fun. It's not fun to carry a lot of stuff on a motorcycle. That's why people will spend so much money on luggage. If you see the big like suitcase looking things on the side of a bike, that's why. Because it's not fun to wear a backpack with a bunch of stuff on it. When I took the bike to my parents on Sunday, it was nice to just hop on the bike and go. I didn't need to bring anything. I had my phone in my pocket. I have a Bluetooth helmet and I listened to tunes and just rode. It was nice. My 15-year-old bike has fewer problems than my car did when it was like 3,000 miles old. Thanks, car. What would be your dream motorcycle ride? Now, I don't know that I would do it on this bike because this bike it's good for about 150 miles in a day. Once you get past that, it's just not super comfortable. But let's forget about that. Let's say I had a motorcycle that was incredibly comfortable. And don't worry, I'm going to tie this back to martial arts. If I had something that was a little more comfy, you could sit back instead of sitting up. I would love to do a loop of the country. I've always wanted to do, a big loop around the United States. But I would love to do that on a motorcycle. I would love to do it with very little stuff. Maybe do a few hundred miles in a day, stop at a cheap motel, sleep, and go. Now, I think the downside to something like that for me. What is on the road? I think they're doing road work already. The downside for something like that for me is that I can't just sit all day. I sat most of yesterday and it drove me crazy because it was so hot out and I just didn't want to be outside. I need movement. Even though I went hiking on Monday, I need movement every day. I still managed, 6,000 steps yesterday? But I really need to get to that 8 to 10,000 to not feel antsy. And I felt antsy. And I gotta figure something out today, otherwise I'm gonna go crazy. This is where gyms were open. This is where my Planet Fitness membership would be great, because I would just go get on the treadmill for 30 minutes in the air conditioning and just feel better. I'm moving. Nope, not an option. Where else would I want to ride? I see a lot of motorcycle tours come from Canada, and I would imagine that riding out there would be nice. A couple years ago when I drove out to St. John, it was a great drive. And I would love to do that on a bike and just go. That would be a lot of fun. But you know what sucks about that? Rain. It's not fun when it's 95 degrees or when it's pouring rain. That's one thing a car has over a bike. Now I promised I would tie this back to martial arts, so let's do that. Now in the beginning, when I talked about my favorite things around a motorcycle, I talked about the need to predict what's going on, to see what's happening. And it's a skill that has become very valuable for me in my martial arts. When you're working with someone, whether it's a sparring situation or not, it can just be a teaching situation, a drill. Being able to see what someone is going to do before they do it is so incredibly valuable. We did an episode of Martial Arts Radio very early on about instinct. I think it was in the first 100. And we talked about how to develop your instincts. And it's something that far too few martial arts programs spend any time on. If you can predict what someone else is going to do, and I don't mean, with some kind of sixth sense, but starting to see the nuance of their body movement tied to what their strike or movement is going to be, you get quite the advantage. You have to develop that on a motorcycle. And I continue to develop that in the car. And when I work with people, when I spar with people, and I observe them, I've got a pretty good idea of what they're going to do. And it makes it easier for me to, let's say, win, depending on the drill. If you've ever sparred with someone and it seemed like they knew what you were doing before you did, that's what's happening. It's not magic. They're not predicting the future. They're seeing things in your movement that you don't know you're doing. Great fighters will talk about this. They'll talk about, if somebody's hand's up before they punch, if you're going to throw a jab, if you're here before they do that, there's a shoulder lift, or a dip, there's a subtle pulling back. You need to do something to initiate motion. This is the whole philosophy behind Bill Wallace and his Superfoot system. That you can't move from rest. So if you're just planted, you have to do something to get moving. Instead of trying to hide that by doing it less and less, which is the way most traditional martial arts do it, he encourages and teaches to make that movement initiation part of your overall movement. So the bouncing around that you see a lot of people doing in sparring, and people wonder, why are they bouncing around? It's to hide their initiation of motion. Yeah. Next time you do some training, if you can do it in front of a mirror or with a phone, and film yourself, and then slow it down. There's a great app out there called Coach's Eye that you can slow things down frame by frame. And you can zoom in and draw lines. It's a wonderful tool. Take a look at how you move. Try to move from a completely stationary position without telegraphing something. You won't. There will always be something there. Maybe it'll be hard to spot. Maybe you won't even catch it on video. But I'll bet you, from some angle, a high-skilled martial artist would see it. Maybe it's too subtle for them to react to. Maybe it's too quick for them to get an advantage over you with you doing it, but it's there. Physics. You can't argue with physics. You know what? I'll tell you what. I will show you my motorcycle in picture. Because it's a stock motorcycle. I've done nothing to it. No. I put some little protectors on my handlebars so when bugs hit my hands, it doesn't hurt so much. Because bugs at 60, 70 miles an hour hurt a lot. We're loading this up here. That's a good picture. This is my motorcycle. It's not nearly that shiny, but that is my motorcycle. Except mine has a windshield on it, or a windscreen, if we're talking about motorcycles. That one's had a little bit of modification to it, but it's pretty darn close. So we'll call it good. Now, if you have questions for me, comments for me, feedback for me, ask away. Drop it below. I'll respond tomorrow. Got another episode of Martial Arts Radio dropping tomorrow. Next Tuesday is Whistlekick Live, as it's the first Tuesday of the month. Feels like we just did that, but we did just do that just a couple weeks ago. But we're doing it again. And it'll be even better, because we keep getting better, because Gabe keeps getting better. Shout out to Gabe and all his hard work. I feel I keep getting better at that. And a lot of that has to do with this right here. because I get to practice all my live stuff with all of you, and I appreciate you showing up. I've got to drink this coffee anyway. I'd be sitting on this couch anyway. The fact that you join me 5 days a week in my home is pretty awesome. What else? Go check out whistlekick.com, sign up for the newsletter, support us on Patreon, patreon.com, and I was asked recently to spell that, patreon.com/whistlekick, and you'll get more stuff. I think I have to record, no, that's next week. I've got a video to record next week for Patreon. I do video, audio, blog posts, do a little bit of everything over there every month to try to give people more. And, yeah. Thanks for your support. I hope wherever you are today, it is less hot than it is here. And if it is as hot as it is here today, I hope you sit on an ice pack or something. All right, I gotta get ready to bring the car in. Have a great day, everyone. Take care, and I'll see you back here tomorrow. Peace.